Hey, this is Chuck Harris with Cross Trails Cowboy Ministries. Well, the Lone Ranger and Tonto, they were out camping in the desert, and it was getting late, so they set up their tent, and shortly thereafter they went to sleep. Well, Tonto wakes up in the middle of the night, and he wakes up the Lone Ranger, and he says, Kimosabe, he says, "What do you see?" And the Lone Ranger says, "Well, I see billions of stars." And Tonto says, "Well, what else do you see?" And he pondered for a second, and he said, he says, "Astronomically, I see that there are millions of galaxies and potentially billions of stars." He says, "Meteorologically, I see that it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow." He says, "Theologically, I see that that God is great and we are but a small speck on this earth." Then Lone Ranger turned to Tonto. He says, "Tonto, what do you see?" Tonto says, "Someone stole a tent." You know, in John 17:15, it's a part of Jesus' prayer for his disciples, and it says, "I am not praying that you take them out of this world, but that you protect them from the evil ones." You know, we often get caught up in the minutia of life and we forget about the important things. Right? Just like Lone Ranger in our story, he was so caught up in explaining and being smart that he overlooked a very general fact that he no longer had protection from the elements. His protection was gone, man. They were exposed. They were vulnerable. They had lost their protection. How about you today? Are you still protected? Or have you walked away from your protection? That's all I got. Sermon in a minute.